So I'm here today with somebody that I have called Death after the tarot card Death, and let's and the 9 vibrations of Vmmh that I have attributed to her are Izilwajaf Vazang Ith Nu is Ilwajaf Vazang Ith Nu is Ilwajaf Vazag Ith Nu and let's to get some idea of identity here. Would you identify yourself as female or male?
I'm definitely female, but sometimes I wish I was a dude because periods suck.
Are you under 13, 13 to 25, or 26 to 45?
Definitely not 13. I'll be 29 this year.
What do you think is the purpose of life?
I think the purpose of life is probably more to do with that's a huge question. I think we're here to learn love and to learn what our creator, God, has in mind for us versus all of the sin and evil and pain that is being created on earth. I think love and God is far beyond outside of all that. And I think we're trying to get home essentially. It's like when you go on a long journey thinking that you need something, maybe it's far away, maybe it's expensive, it's far away from you in terms of riches, in terms of distance, in terms of time, etc. But really it's like one of those things where you end up realizing it was in your heart all this time. I think life and its purpose are along those lines.
What does that mean to you? Like, what is love and that sort of thing?
What does love mean to me? I think it means trusting in God so much that you allow yourself to be vulnerable in order to experience everything that there is instead of living in anxiety due to making wrong turns or sinning in life. And I think it's choosing to be open and it's choosing to be vulnerable and it's choosing to live your best life. And also, Barbie has some kicking
So,
heels.
so closer to the song, "What is love? Baby, don't hurt me."
Oh, sing it.
What?
Mm-hmm. Barbie's gonna dance.
Well, one can't toot too much of a copyrighted song or they try to flag you. Um, when you do the right thing, is it more likely to be out of love, of doing good, or pleasing God, personal enjoyment or pleasure, the hope of results from your deeds, the fear of the consequences of not doing the right, or hate for doing the wrong, or even for those who wouldn't do the same?
It's always been a personal joy for me to spread positivity. And in doing so, that does please God, but that's not the reason I do it. It feels right, so therefore it is right. You got to go with those gut instincts.
Well, one of the things I found that was not per se intentional is that if you're familiar with the difference between karmi yoga, bhakti yoga, and in between jnana yoga, is the when one's just trying to do the right thing and devotional service, that one ends up learning more and feeling more than you thought than if you were to just go out to try to learn it or try to, enjoy oneself or that sort of thing. At least that's been my experience.
Well, I don't know what half those things are, but if it has to do with yoga, then it must have to do with spiritual and breathing and being with your body, and all those things are positive.
Well, at least you understand as, I made a video detailing the difference between yoga and tantra in a way, and also talking about the misconceptions that people have in that regard. Because, but you seem to understand that yoga is not just wearing really tight clothes and showing off and posing and whatnot. It's a spiritual thing. Which of course means that you can't necessarily say everything that people attribute to the whole yoga thing, because
I also think, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was trying to.
Well, I think that everything that you open yourself energetically to, including yoga, has to be taken with care, because you don't want to open yourself up to the wrong energies, and you don't want to accidentally.
If you look at what people say in the mantram side of yoga, it's like you don't just say stuff because it has sounds to it. You can say a lot of stuff, like in the Rig Veda, how they're talking about getting God high on drugs, so he's going to do what we want. Some of that
You
sounds.
also have to be careful with everything that's involved in the New Age movement, because it's actually involved in occultism.
Well,
when you look at the fundamentals of it, and so
occult
you have to be careful and you have to be knowledgeable.
Occult means unseen, but the New
Yeah.
Age. I think of
Things
New
are
Age.
symbolic, and things are being misrepresented. An example of this misrepresented symbolism would be a lot of the popular hand gestures that are going around that you'll see like kids and teenagers doing to, appear cool or appear funny. And a lot of those hand gestures are actually symbolism that have to do with evil. And people just don't know what they're doing anymore. So you have to be careful and you have to be knowledgeable. Always look for the core roots of things you're involved in, and then decide if that's something you want to be involved in or not.
Well, certainly one of the things that has happened with what people would call New Age is that people just say things and do things with no meaning. I mean, they don't know the meanings and they just do it. And it's like that was never the intent of any of these old paths that they're trying to resurrect, is that, just make some sounds. And it's like, this is the sound of the ruler and the sound of the plane and all this other stuff. And it's like, but what does it mean? And as one knows, I researched occult and became a disbelieving member for a number of years to continue to communicate through that. And it sounds like I knew more than their leader over tens of thousands of those people in terms of what their mythology meant and what it was about. They just, were focused about worshiping cartoon characters. I was amazed that they didn't try to make me do that. They just assumed that I was praying to the cartoon characters and picturing them in my head too. Oh, Fabio, you've seen those pictures, Oh, you got a mask.
Fabio?
Yeah, they had this character with.
I met Fabio.
They had a character with
on Mother's Day of 2013 or 14 at a Whole Foods market.
They had a character with a Hindu name that they said was an Egyptian from 5,000 years ago that looked sort of like Fabio. Gopal Das. I met a Gopal Das, and it was kind of funny. It's kind of funny that they arranged that, but people just ate it up, and thousands of people. Oh, Gopal Das visited me in a dream. It's like you've just been watching Fabio, man.
I am revealed. I have been named. Oh, let's go over my name.
The name
I'm
Death?
revealed. I'm not actually Barbie. I'm not actually a wolf. This is me.
Well, I'm hoping people have at least cured their mental illness enough by watching some of my what I've had to say that they
Oh, I
wouldn't.
love that because I'm actually carrying some of my own mental illness, which mental illness is another thing that has been misrepresented here on Earth. Mental illness cannot be properly, in my opinion, cannot be properly treated with so-called medication. Although medications do provide a kind of biohack to the chemistry of your brain and the functioning of your body, it is not, however, a solution, a cure.
Well, what they've said about chemical imbalances, and it's like that's why so few people have the symptom relief in comparison,
Mental
is
illness is
that there's
actually
chemical imbalances that people have, and you can't just drug that away. You can drug away reactions to that and have people sleep 15 hours a day. It's like you're cured. You don't have the energy to be hyperactive anymore.
as long as they can provide an answer to retard your receptors, it is a win in their book for Western medicine.
But
And I currently take
it's been
an anxiety medicine, and it literally does retard the GABA receptor of the brain. I understand how it works. And now that I understand how it works, I don't want to retard my brain. Maybe I'm okay.
well,
Just
I have this thing outside the
legit things.
I have this. It turns out that I live right next. If I walk out, you know, that window that we see here, it's not too far on the other side of that window that you will see something called a passion flower. And this passion flower, when people take it, it can stop the withdrawal symptoms, even very severe withdrawal symptoms for a lot of people in terms of quitting their psychiatric medication.
Okay, psychiatric medication. I was going to say for which drug?
Uh, I've used to take amphetamines because they were prescribed to me for my ADHD, which I had back in the day.
In order to possibly help someone, based on what you just said about needing to battle withdrawal symptoms for psychiatric medications, there is a very well-known tea. This is not sponsored by Tazo called Passion, and it's actually the same dark red iced tea that you can order at Starbucks. And it's made of hibiscus flowers and orange peel and licorice and lemongrass, and then the fruit juice extract. I could be wrong in assuming this has passion fruit in it.
Passion flower, not passion fruit, but there's various substances, and it depends on what.
It has hibiscus. Is that another word for passion flower? Hibiscus?
No, hibiscus is like, I have hibiscus, but there are.
Well, then I'm wrong. Disregard. But I do encourage people to find natural solutions.
Any drug that people quit, alcohol, whatever, that they can quit cold turkey without the withdrawal symptoms if they know the right plant or the right vitamin. And I wish I knew this when I was quitting the painkillers and stuff back in the day, because
I will personally speak on painkillers. I was a user for a year and a half solid straight daily, and it got very, very bad. I was in a very, very negative place physically and mentally. And if it weren't for the powder of the leaf of the Everglade tree from Eastern Asia, I would probably still be in that very cyclic dark hole, which, in my opinion, opened me up to very negative things and let everything bad and negative just kind of float on by me. And I kept living a very turbulent life. And that's actually where I learned, hey, there's something actually spiritually better on the other side of this. I want to go there. I want to be involved in that. And sorry, go ahead.
I realized that not only did I still hurt, and no matter what they tried, it wasn't like the spiritual discipline that I have since attained cured the ADHD and such.
Can you speak on what you just said in the terms where you use the words spiritual discipline? Can we talk on that?
Well, initially it started that every couple hours I would turn off the TV and read and pray or something. And then, I just use commercial breaks. That's how I started. But yeah, keeping at a schedule has to do with the hours and fixing my sleep hours to healthier time, like trying to
So
sleep as much
you
as I
paid
can.
attention to what modern society would call the circadian rhythm, which in turn balances your hormones, your body, your sleep cycles. Is very important.
And
If
according to
somebody wants
studies,
to
according to,
say,
oh, sorry.
I was going to say, if somebody wants to say connect to spirituality more, which in terms of the new age stuff, you know, spirituality has a bad rap for being made of things like sage and crystals and all that. And that's not what I'm speaking of when I say spirituality. I
I don't
mean
know how it's
literal
said in
spirit.
Latin, but there was a saying that pagans worship herbs and Jews worship stones, and it's like, no, no. But
My cat's being naughty, so I had to leave the other room.
and people's like when people are tired at the end of the day, their aura means that no, their aura is showing that they're tired. It doesn't mean that they're evil or something like that. I've encountered that.
Yeah, you know, everything is fluctuating, everything is changing, and so much, in fact, that it's possible for someone with a, you know, a hurt, darkened soul to become whole again and full of light. Everything is ever changing.
Yeah, I just decided that it wasn't quite enough that I still shook in pain every day, even taking pain medication. So it's like
Yeah, it never actually took it away. However, it changes how your brain perceives it, and that's actually how a doctor would describe that it works, quote
it
unquote.
was
Work.
it
It
got
just
it
changes you.
got
It
it
changes.
got very quickly to the point of you just don't care about it. Yes, it takes away some, but you get more because you don't stop when you need to
Yeah.
stop immediately, like
I
you would if
have
you weren't
a
on the medication.
specific pain that I would often get after taking my morning dose and then continuing on to a mid-afternoon dose, evening dose, etc. I would always get a lot of burning in my upper shoulders and neck, and it would freak me out. Like clearly, that's not healthy.
But I
Um,
wanted not only did I decide it wasn't right anymore, I wanted that I wanted a better sense of consciousness for
mhm.
rituals and
Yeah, your
spiritual readings or whatever.
consciousness at times might seem euphoric. You might even fool yourself biochemically into thinking you're quote unquote happy or what people would refer to as the high. But on your core level, you're so blurred and contorted and stretched thin and stressed and tired
Well, it's like if you have some of these same
because of that
experiences, it's
medicine.
like amphetamines, for example, can make a person feels really powerful, like you can really take on. I literally got in a fight with like 5 people at the same time,
And overexertion is often
and
going to happen from that.
but well, I guess I needed to be in that state in that particular situation, but it was
Changes you on such a deep
but
level.
when you have it's like when you're in the hospital having surgery and they just give you a little bit more than you need and you're sort of like, oh, that's the stuff, but then you're like asleep. But if it happens to you when you're not using a drug, it's the being forced to feel that way. It's just the pure feeling. You're
That's
not
terrifying.
there's no drag to it like there is with the like with the medication or whatever. Um, it's just
On
it's
top of getting out of withdrawals from such a strong drug, a lot of heroin users will actually tell you. I have a friend who I won't mention that struggles with this, and they said that of course they don't want to be an addict, of course they don't want to be on heroin, but it's the withdrawal period that forces them to stay on because
mm.
they'll get so sick that they feel like they might die,
Well,
and
I remember with Percodan.
they're hurting not
I,
only
I
physically
think
but
Percodan, it was
emotionally,
like when you quit.
spiritually.
Same thing with the psychiatric medication. Is the worst symptoms are withdrawing and then
Yeah.
on it. Well, I mean,
I've personally
in terms
withdrawn
of
from a lot of
psychiatric,
things. It's
in
not
terms of
fun.
um, in terms, I'm sorry, I'm not knowing when to start speaking. It's not sometimes.
Oh,
In terms of psychiatric medication, the research, at least since the 1950s, have shown that the worst time is the withdrawal time. Then it's the time then the second worst time is when they're on the drugs because even if they're like sleeping 15 hours a day, their impulse control is shot to the degree that they're going to end up doing things at some point that they would have
Yeah.
never done without the medication.
Yeah.
And um,
Yeah.
so even
I think
even some
I
of the
agree.
worst psychiatric illnesses, schizophrenia, untreated schizophrenia is a lot safer than treated schizophrenia. Yet they make try
Well,
to
I
make
mean,
it
you
sound like the
take
person
an
can.
imbalance of a person who's imbalanced, maybe physically, emotionally, spiritually, maybe all three, mind, body, soul, and then you add a man-made drug to it. Like at the core of my heart, I say that's not good. Don't do that. Deal with the things making you in pain emotionally, physically. Obviously that's the answer, but is it that easy? No, of course it's not. So you
Well,
have to find a
particularly some
medium.
of the
You have to find God.
some of the cognitive things that people will go over are the techniques like to create balance and maybe other states on top of that, because as I've said before, that the brain and the body is a reservoir of over 50 chemicals that produces drug-like highs.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to achieve a balance to get there. And it's like some of the experiences, like I have hinted at soma, which is basically mashed up marijuana, a little opium and a little ephedra juice in it. So basically,
Jeez.
like, uh, and if you're Persian, some people don't like the term Persian, but you know that the race on the other side of those five tribes, five of them Hindu, five one Persian, I mean four Hindu, one Persian, basically. Um, they add up to 47, up to 37 other chemicals, so they have a 40 chemical mix, and some of those things enhance the other three things. And
You
um,
mean naturally or
well, again, I'm
enhanced
not advocating
naturally?
the drug use, but I'm saying
Right.
that you can
We're
have
just talking
that
about the
variety
effects.
of experience that it's like, um, you know, r- riding a horse through the nice smelling grass while being struck by lightning, which sounds horrifying, but um,
It
you
was.
literally you buzz like thousands of bees. You feel super powerful, but when you're not on drugs, you don't think you're not delusional in that sense. I've
Um,
never been a
something
recreational
I
drug user, but
something I thought of when you spoke about how the brain is, basically a nest full of all these different things that could happen. There's a lot of controversy over whether it works or not. And I'm going to refer to acupuncture because I've tried it recently. And it's like you can produce endorphins that are pain relieving in the same sense of, I took a Vicodin or something, it might feel not the high, not the side effects, not the high, but the actual pain relief portion of, say, taking
beta
a
beta
5 milligram
endorphins
Vicodin.
beta
Um,
endorphins produced right around here, and you know, and it's stronger than heroin, but you're not
well, I'm
trapped
just saying from
trapped for 24 hours.
my personal use of acupuncture, I had a lot of pain radiating down my legs from my lower back on the right side. And so there was about 6 to 8 acupuncture needles stuck in me down there, and it burned, it itched. It wasn't like excruciating by any means. It was just noticeable, like the sting of a cat scratch. Noticeable, but not, you can definitely survive through it. And I was like, well, what is this? What other feelings am I gonna feel? What's gonna happen? And I started getting nervous. But within 10 minutes, the burning and the hotness and the itchiness of that area, it was flowing with endorphins after about 10 minutes. And what do you know? All my pain was gone. It was reversed. It was,
There's
changed.
various techniques and stuff that have been shown, but one of the things that if you look at the cave art and you look at the acupuncture diagrams and stuff, and you have that ephedrine release in particular. Ephedrine's one of the ones that rises from
Really?
the
Hmm.
medulla, and sometimes it's like this burning feeling on your face, but not a bad burning feeling, like the good burning
You
feeling.
know,
Sometimes it's like those little dots on the cave drawings or the acupuncture thing, and then you just like, that's it. That's how they figured it out. That's how
some people, including myself, might report burning in their head, face, back of the neck, upper shoulders, maybe even their chest, with anxiety attacks. And would you say that that's the ephedrine or epinephrine that might get improperly released during flight or fight
What?
mode?
Well, one of the things that a person can,
What chemically happens? Yeah, that's what I think about. What
it
chemically
varies.
happens during depression, anxiety, and what kind of effects would from drug use of any kind would reverse those effects. And that's why an addict becomes an addict, because it's a literal biochemical answer to something that's highly uncomfortable or painful or
Well,
what
that
have
they wouldn't have the moment, and therefore it's like, what did um
to
a
anybody
particular
out there suffering from opioid, heroin, narcotic, whatever. If you're suffering and you want off of the stuff, but you've been on it for so long, or maybe you're not wanting to give up the high yet, you still need it or want it for whatever reason, but at the core of yourself, you really want off the stuff.
well,
I would
I'm
highly
saying
recommend
I'm
getting
saying
high grade Everglade tree leaf powder and taking it
okay, well,
appropriately,
well,
because it works on the same receptor in your brain for opioids, only it doesn't activate that half of the receptor that causes addiction or a high, or this stuff can't hurt you. Like, I've been on it
well,
now for about 6 months.
well, I'm saying that there are certain underlying
I personally have
imbalances
chronic pain because I
that have.
have a health problem. But
Okay, well, I mean that there are certain imbalances that create certain things, and you have to achieve a state of balance before, for example,
yes,
the mystical
that's so
techniques,
important to balance.
the the myth,
Um, I find that a good balance to balance out, say you have too much negativity, physically, emotionally. Let's say you have depression, you have anxiety, you have chronic pain, something like that, because that's what I've experienced. My balance is doing anything I can extra that I know is healthy for at least 5 minutes a day to start, and then maybe push to 10, 15. It really depends on your condition and whatnot, but um, balancing my stress equals balancing my hormones, and that means everything from down to what I eat, down to what I put in my body, what are throwing off the receptors or whatever in my body. I have to look at that. For instance, I've had to cut fluoride out, so I have fluoride free, sulfate free toothpaste.
well, that's certainly one of the things that I mean is that,
And then
yeah,
what you eat is most
you gotta look
important.
at
But
diet and stuff like this. It's like
are
I'm one,
you
and therefore I
for
can't.
women
What?
for women, and this stuff is strategically placed around us. There's definitely a foul agenda at play. But for instance, for women suffering hormone imbalance, which is just about all of us nowadays, that could be polycystic ovarian syndrome. It could be endometriosis. I also have both of those things right now that I'm trying to reverse. And so far, I feel better, eating better. But number one thing you wouldn't ever guess is the damn menstrual pads. It's got a chemical in it. I can't remember the name. My brain's all wonky. But there's some chemical in just your average brand menstrual pads that actually throws off your hormones significantly.
Well,
And
that's
I know
one
for
of the things
men,
that they
there's a
find with
drop
all
in
sorts of things.
testosterone from your average chemicals that people in the city spray on, the lining of the grass to kill the weeds and all that. That was
Well,
shown
the
to
fancy
reduce testosterone.
I mean the more popular sorts of chemically sort of stinky soaps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can
I personally
really
use
spread the.
Dr. Bronner's lavender liquid soap. I use it as a face wash. I use it in my laundry. I use it in the bath. I use it as shampoo. It's great. And
It's
I
like,
really like
for
the
example,
message that
how
that
we.
company has.
It's like even for example how they typically recommend only about half the fiber that a person really should be getting.
Yeah,
Only
number one thing is when you're trying to
80% of people don't
balance,
even get that.
how many vitamins you're getting, you need to first, like you said earlier, you need to try to get all your nutrients and your vitamins and whatnot from the actual food you eat. And if it's a dire circumstance, like maybe you're broke 3/4 of the month And you really need to make sure you level, get whole food based, plant based vitamins and supplements. Don't get the fake cheap stuff. Might as well just burn your $5 or $10 bill if you're going to buy the fake stuff from the cheap stores. Just get a
Well,
quality
a lot
supplement.
of that
The
stuff.
organic
I mean,
the organic ones are only $20, and by organic I mean it's plant based. Organic's important too because don't even get me on that subject. But
well, that was going to be one. Well, some of it, yes, some of it, no. It depends.
like
But
you need more
what
D3. Stand out in the sun, eat some mushrooms. Don't just take that cheap $4 bottle of D3. It's not the same.
certainly don't
You
take
want
the issue.
quality.
But
You want
what I was
quality over quantity.
it's like what you said that I was going to sort of add into, because it's like, yeah, taking plants when you're withdrawing and whatnot, but the balance in eating whole foods, it's like
The biggest balance you
at least
start
ten
with that
percent
you'll
of
feel the
Americans
most
have
is your diet.
at least 10% of the AMA admits that 10% of Americans have clinical health problems because of the bleached and polished grains. So
Yeah, grains. I
food
actually
and not
really
kick out the chemically
digest them
treated
well.
stuff, cure what?
My own doctor told me, grains aren't really that great for you. It was basically a necessity for survival at some point, depending on your heritage and where and when, for you to survive, to eat those, so that you would eat those things to survive. And now that you have access to things of greater nutritional value, you really don't need to be eating those things because they're not really, good for the human.
Well, the typical
Like,
there
look at what your
actually
ancestors ate.
what I'm saying is the research actually says it's the bleached and the not eating all food, eating the chemically treated food is making a significant portion of the population clinically sick,
Yeah.
or at least making it worse, and addressing that issue. And it's like
And for anybody out there also,
we live in a country that's I'm not really want to advertise a series of products, but what can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. It's like we live in a there are we have 70% of Americans are acknowledged as having digestive issues. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's the current issue by the medical establishment, is that 70% of people have medical issues with dairy. But are most is that stopping us from consuming dairy? No. I mean, America's worse than the world average, actually, in terms of its ability to handle dairy, but still we use dairy left and right.
Something that I started using to provide myself gastrointestinal balance was, I'll cover up the brand. I don't know if that matters, but very strong probiotics. And then in addition to that, having a gut shot every once in a while, which is actually just green cabbage, water, red beets, ginger, and sea salt, the juice of all those things. And you provide relief for your GI tract also, and maybe cutting out certain foods or maybe limiting certain foods.
Well,
For
not
example,
cooking everything all the time is also
yeah, you
a
don't
healthy
want
thing.
to just cook everything because it dies. I mean, the
Remember
second
that
you
program on
cut fruit or veggies, the second you cut into a fruit or a veggie, it starts to die. The nutrients die slowly, but so you don't want to be buying prepackaged, pre-cut vegetables, things of that nature. Especially something noticeably strange that's just really not natural to me is baby carrots. They're convenient, they're cute, they're crunchy, they're sweet, they're yummy, sure, but you're much more better off just getting the cheap bag of bulk carrots that aren't pre-cut or bleached or water infused,
Well, did you
because
ever
those are
see that
probably
show?
dead.
10 years ago, there was an episode of Nova that basically said that
I
on
used to watch that
average
with my dad all the time on OPB.
we lose about half our life by through the cooked fats, particularly the overconsumption of
Oh, I was gonna say,
meat
in
and dairy fat.
preparation for my very heavy, painful menstruations, I tend to try to change my diet up or readjust my diet because sometimes I have slip ups. But at least for the first few days before I'm about to menstruate. And this time I decided to do something that was really hard to do for me personally, and that was cut out all meat and all dairy. I basically became a vegan that ate raw, whole, unprocessed foods for 2 days. It sounds so simple when I talk about it, but for 2 days, I fiend and I craved string cheese, yogurt, everything. And then on the second night, I ended up binge eating. I had some yogurt, I had some cheese, I had some salami and crackers. I didn't have like a lot of food. It was just a little bit of each. Like I didn't even finish the whole yogurt cup, but I wanted a big bite of it. I really needed that freaking dairy, man. And within 6 hours, I had serious, serious GI upset. I was needing to go to the bathroom a lot. Things were just foul.
Well,
And
yeah.
I was kind of shocked at how those foods affected me so drastically.
Well, they also
Amazing.
say that if a person maximizes the raw aspect of their diet, that they need less calories. A lot of our calories is because we again consume.
I noticed that when I wasn't eating meat and dairy, that I was significantly hungrier. I just basically wanted to have more snacks. And I noticed that I was more tired, very tired, almost kind of dizzy, like lightheaded, dizzy, tired. And what is it in the meat and the dairy that you need to make you feel balanced and whole? And it's probably those B vitamins. I heard a lot of B vitamins are only found
Well,
in certain kinds of meat.
that's a misconception on a series of
Yeah, I'm not sure.
again. It's like the idea of, yes, people can get by on without grains if they don't have it, but that's really the easiest way to get a series of B vitamins and some other things
I'll
are to
actually
help you
have
produce
some
are to help you
recipes for
produce things
chemo.
oneself.
That's
What?
it, as far as grains.
But the if you don't overdo it, like if you kick out the meat and dairy, there's nothing actually in meat and dairy nutritionally that a human being needs. There's not a single vitamin or anything, but
I mean, yeah, I can
and
totally live
and
that
they
way,
often
but
come with antibiotics that make it so you can't
possibly
produce a
detox.
healthy level of B12 on your own.
Yeah, like my, $13 a bottle, 2 month supply of raw. Maybe it wasn't raw. Maybe it was just plant-based vitamins. They had the full range of B vitamins in them. They had iron, lots of good stuff. And I can count on the vitamins during times of illness, during times of poverty. But ideally, you're going to feel the best if you have uncooked, raw, whole foods.
Like
I
I always
personally
have a
really
significant
love.
portion of fruit and vegetables every day, and I don't need as much of the other, although my calorie consumption is kind of. But trust me, I eat even more food when I used to eat even more food when I
I
didn't.
really love using my crock pot because you could just throw in a whole range of spices, liquids, vegetables, and it'll be really wholesome and very cheap. And there's always leftovers for the next day for lunch. Or you can take your leftovers and start using them to make an entirely new dish. Like if you have broth, you can make almost any kind of chowder or soup. So, I mean, for all the people saying it's too expensive on my food stamp, budget to be healthy, it's so not. It's so much cheaper, and I get so much more healthy produce than I would buying a overly processed, polished grain filled item.
Or some frozen treated thing. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, like, sure, I buy things occasionally that I don't absolutely need to consume. But for an example, I made these muffins and even a loaf out of the excess flour, but it was just a bunch of rice protein powder, some cocoa powder. My phone just died.
Well, the concentrated proteins actually with a lot of them can actually cause. Hello? Oh, well,